After 3 years, I've reached the end of my pledge of Devil May Cry, and I can finally say, I get it. I get it. It took me 5 to 6 games, but it finally clicked, and I understand. I don't love it, but I get it. Welcome back, Classy Crew, to an almost final Devil May Cry journal. I will have one more after this so that anyone cannot say I finished this pledge, and that last journal will be of Devil May Cry 2, the side content. Boy, am I not looking forward to getting back to that. But since the last journal, I have played and completed Devil May Cry 5. I've even done DMC, Devil May Cry DMC, the reboot. And after watching the comments on my last video where I'm like, I don't like this game, and you guys once again enlightened me with a realization that I wasn't playing the game correctly. I was trying to get through this franchise, absorbing it the way I do other games. And I've ultimately realized the game loop of Devil May Cry is not necessarily like fight and progress the story. That's just your anchor so that you can do what this game wants you to do, which is show off. The game is basically a vehicle to express skill, and a lot of you have told me that in the last comments section of the last video. And so I went into my Devil May Cry 5 playthrough with that new mindset of like, who cares what the story is? Let's just try to style on the monsters. And I have to say, that shift changed so much my enjoyment of the game, where I'm like, well, how can I like fight this enemy? What's the best way? Like, what's the best combo to do here? And I was switching around my moveset a lot more than like trying to depend on a few moves like I was in the last 4 installments. And what a game changer it was to switch from like sword to gun back to the secondary weapon, punch and kick, and like it just, everything flowed so much better to a level that I really enjoyed it. And plus in Devil May Cry 5 you get this, like, the music pumps up the better your rating, so you can hear more and more of the music. And my favorite song in this franchise is I think it's called Pull My Devil Trigger. And I'm just like, oh man, I just want to hear that song all the time. So I'm just like smashing all the buttons and the combos to get a really good score. So I get it. Now, I think I played the game well enough to appreciate the tip of the iceberg. I'm nowhere near as good as people who go through multiple playthroughs, increase difficulty, and really master this game. And that's because it doesn't call to me like that. Like this game, I can see it. I'm like, that would be really cool to do, but I do not have the patience to practice a game to get to that level so that I can just style on things for my own enjoyment. Like, it just doesn't fulfill me enough. But I'm glad I finally understand, because once I let go of trying to care about the characters and the story, everything just flowed so much better. I also realized Devil May Cry, especially the original 5 of the main canon, they suffer from something I want to call like the Nintendo syndrome, for lack of a better word. And that is basically that all the major franchise Nintendo has is the same game essentially repeated. And I say that with like a lot of like warnings and stuff. Like, most Nintendo IPs fit within a formula, and within that formula they experiment. So I'm not saying they're the same game, but they work within the same confines where, you know, Zelda, you're always going to be playing most of the time as Link, trying to save Hyrule from Ganon. Like, the formula is the same up until Breath of the Wild, where they changed everything. Kirby is also always the same. Oh no, someone has ruined the peaceful lands. Let's go fight him. Oh no, there's actually a super demigod behind that villain. And then there's Star Fox. So anyways, when it comes to Devil May Cry, I find it's even more so, where it's just this endless cycle of Dante fighting Virgil and demons coming out and trying to take over the world, and you're trying to stop that, only for Dante and Virgil at the end to be like, let's fight each other. Okay. So I mean, there's nuance here. I'm oversimplifying, but at the end of the day, I feel like that's ultimately what the story is. So much so that, like, okay, there's going to be spoilers in this video. I'm assuming all of you have played Devil May Cry. So at the end of both of these games, Devil May Cry 5 and the DMC reboot, you fight Virgil. And I've fought this guy so many times in the canon, I'm actually recognizing his moveset. I'm like, what? It's the same attacks, the same phases. It's so similar, and that's what gives me that Nintendo syndrome, especially. It's fighting that Virgil fight at the end all the time. It's okay. It's a vehicle for doing cool stuff. And DMC 5 does do a lot of cool stuff. I've already talked about the Devil Trigger music, which I love. Nero, I finally understand who he is, which, holy plot twist at the end. I don't think I really care for what they did with it. Like, I don't know if most fans went like, whoa, when that happened, but I'm like, oh, okay. And what I didn't like is At no point now I'm criticizing Devil May Cry's narrative direction, which I feel they don't really try hard in that department anyways. But like at no point is Nero talking about how he feels like he's Virgil's son, basically, right? And so at no point do we see Nero having daddy issues in DMC 4 or 5. Like at no point is he like, I wish I had a father or something. So the moment he realizes that Virgil's his father, why does he care at all? He's just like, suddenly he gets this like big surge that he has to get involved because Dante's his uncle and Virgil's his father. And like there's this whole family tie that just comes in out of nowhere at the end. And it just didn't really feel earned in my opinion. So I didn't care too much for that. I actually didn't even realize too, by the way, that Nero was Nero when I was starting the game. You know, I found out pretty early on, but I'm like, oh, this design is Nero, the same guy was playing in DMC 4? Who would have known? Why am I playing as him again? Where's my Dante? And then this is kind of another thing I was complaining in DMC 4, which is the game is always like making you change characters just as I'm getting good with one. It throws you into another. I was more forgiving this time because I'm like, who cares? I'm here to have fun and try to style. And basically what I'm seeing the game doing, it's like, oh, you're getting pretty good at that. Now try these mechanics. And all the characters play so different, it offers you a lot of variety to just kind of try and experiment. And somebody said like basically the first playthrough of a DMC is basically your tutorial where you try things, and then once you know what you like, you go back and you master that in either the Bloody Palace or whatever else you want to do. With Nero, I liked his moveset to some extent. I wasn't a big fan of his hand being a consumable that you can switch. To me, I was just like decision paralysis. There was just too many different hands to try. I pretty much always went with whatever Nico would recommend for me because I didn't want to make that decision. I also really don't like using consumables in game. Call it like, I don't know, a relic of my old gaming days where we were just taught to hoard everything and not use it until the end of the game. So I just don't like having a consumable as a main weapon. Blue from my community also offered, he donated the DLC for me. Not the DLC, the like deluxe pack or something. So I got a ton of bonus items, including this one hand, which is called the Sweet Surrender. And I was like, oh, what does this do? And everyone's like, hee. And then like the hand basically just like does this. And then it's a really pervy hand because it's basically suggestive that, oh, this is a hand to please Nero's girlfriend. But in the game, it actually heals you or something. Like, I don't know. I was running around with a hand doing this. It was stupid. So yeah, that was Nero. And then after that, you get to play as V, who, I honestly, this guy reminded me of, what's his name? Kylo from the Star Wars sequels. Like, just a more angsty, skinnier, sick Kylo, basically. I actually kind of enjoyed his combat, though. I mean, it felt more like Pokemon Trainer style from like Smash Brothers, where you're pretty much just throwing your demons at people. But it was so easy to get triple S on most fights. It wasn't very satisfying or stylish, but it was just satisfying to get high scores for once without too much effort. And then finally, around mid-game, that's when they give us the best, the Dante. And at this point, having played 1, 2, 3, 4, it just comes like second nature to me, where I know what Dante's moves are, and it just felt so good, and it's just so much smoother in DMC 5. And what I was really enjoying was comboing between my sword and going into the punch and kicks. I was just like swapping between that, and then I was swapping between the aerial and the swordmaster style. So doing those two swaps on the fly just felt really good. And then every now and then I pull out my guns and shoot stuff. So like I was mixing in a lot of stuff, and it just felt really good. It all came together during, I think it's a boss fight with Angelo, where I was like parrying him and like breaking his defense and like continuing to combo on him. Like I felt like a pro. I didn't know what I was actually doing like 100% of the time, but I was comboing and it was working very well against Angelo. So if I go like, look, chat, look, I'm doing things. And then they're all like, oh yeah, good job. His weapons, Dante's weapons are so varied in this game. Like there's, you have a freaking motorcycle that you just throw around, which was funny and cool at first, but I didn't like how slow it is. Like it's one thing to like throw half a motorcycle at someone and then another, but it wasn't flowing well with my like swoosh, punch, kick. And then I was like, motorcycle? It didn't. I actually took it out of my combo. I tried it for like a level or two. I'm like, I just don't like the vibe of this. So I took it out. The cowboy hat, I really like that mechanic. Was a little scared that I wasn't good enough with it, so it would be using up all of my items and like all of my currency. But it wasn't that punishing, honestly, and it really added a lot more style to the fights, more style to Dante. It was just fun overall. So I really enjoyed that. So like my final combo with Dante was pretty much do sword, the punching and the kicking with the nunchucks. Then have the cowboy hat on, which I think that counts as a gun, if I remember. And then in this game, you also get introduced to like full demon Dante, which was cool. Like, it just feels like there's so much that you can do with Dante that the other two really feel like kind of, I don't know, mediocre in comparison. Looking at the story, I don't want to talk about it too much because if there's one thing that's consistent in my journals is Devil May Cry stories disappoint me time and time again. And this one is no different. I really did not like the time skipping that we were doing through the game. It just felt like every time we were progressing, they're like, all right, break, back it up. Oh, now we're getting this backstory. Oh my God, progress. Oh, break, back it up. It just was jarring and annoying. And like, I know it's a way of storytelling. I didn't enjoy it here. I did enjoy the whole van mechanic with Nico in there. She's got a cool character. And then just like the van itself is a cool character. I was pretty much getting ready for this van to be a playable character at one point because it just kept showing up in the weirdest places and like killing some demons and stuff. I'm pretty sure they must have tried to be like, can we make the van a playable character? And then like, too much work. Let's not do it. Another thing I didn't like is this big bad, which we learn it's basically Virgil's half demon or whatever, his bad side. Like, people were telling me he's actually defeatable the first time you encounter him. I don't know. I couldn't do anything on him and I was just getting pummeled. And every time I kept having to fight him again, I kept getting pummeled. Like, I just did not figure out this guy's combo. And having to fight him over and over and over again, just, it didn't feel good. Even when you finally get Dante's full demon mode, you get to fight, like, they are like, okay, you got the demon mode. Go and fight this Virgil demon. And I got smacked around, so it felt really unrewarding to be in my full demon mode because I didn't really know how to use it. So that was kind of meh, but again, it's a good thing that I've just checked the story at the door. I'm like, who cares? We're just going to style in demons. We're going to have a good time. And that's pretty much all I got to say about Devil May Cry 5. Like, it's the best of probably the best of the whole franchise, even including the reboot. It just didn't hook into me. I'm glad I like played it, but it's not one of those franchises I love. It's just like, okay, I tried it. It's not for me. Talking about the DMC reboot, like, this one was a little controversial and I didn't even know it existed when I made my pledge, but the community encouraged me to give it a try. And funny enough, like, I find the gameplay simpler and I actually do enjoy DMC. So I played this one in two parts. I played one part 2 years ago. Unfortunately, that stream is lost to time, so we can't recover it. And then I played the second half just recently after having played all the DMCs. After playing DMC 5, it feels simpler, and I'm like, okay, I could see why people may not like this one as much because you don't have as much depth in your combos. But when I first played it 2 years ago, I was preferring it because it just felt a little bit more approachable as an outsider to the franchise. I love the visual style about it. Like, it has kind of this like neo-futuristic vibe. Not a fan of how like they're going more, I don't know, like if the original DMC franchise was like 90s rebellious, this one felt really like early 2000 millennial kind of like rebellious, and it just felt off to me. But that's just the DMC franchise. I think it always feels off to me. Like, the edginess just doesn't work on me very well. And I like that there's this kind of mechanic of like one side of your controller is blue for all your moves, one side is red. Like, you either can pull yourself to monsters if you use one trigger, or you pull the monster towards you if you use the other trigger. And then you have to like attack some enemies with red attacks, some enemies with blue attacks. I was like, okay, I like this, but I could see this getting annoying, if it goes on too long. And in comparison to the DMC core franchise, I could see it being less desired because there's only so much you can do with that. Also, I found it easier in this one to get triple S on my stuff. It's a lot grosser of a game. Like, there's a whole segment where you have a boss that you have to fight, which is like the fetus of a demon. And it's probably one of the grossest things I've fought in all my game history. It was disgusting. And then there was like, people were calling it basically like sniper abortion or something. Like, just that whole chapter with the fetus and the abortion, because you have to kill an unborn child. It's disgusting. Like, it's just very graphic and unnecessary. The whole game just, yeah. I don't like how they depicted Virgil in this one. He's like older brother energy, and just did not feel like it. Honestly felt like a film version of Devil May Cry, but it was a game, just a reboot. It felt like what they kept doing with all these video game movies where they just translated them poorly. That's what the DMC reboot felt like. But as a game, it's actually a good game. And I think I've heard people say this. It's a good game. It's just not a good Devil May Cry game. And I could agree to that. If they didn't call it Devil May Cry, it's an actual like fun, enjoyable game, although kind of gross. So yeah, that's where I am in my DMC playthrough. I mean, I've done them all. There's basically a second story to Devil May Cry 2, which I didn't realize. So I played the game as Dante, and then you unlock like disc 2, which I think you play as the girls or a girl in DMC 2, and it's apparently that's where all the plot went. So it's not just like a repeat of levels, people told me, which is why I'm doing one more journal, just so that nobody can bug me for the rest of my life about, oh, you have to go play Devil May Cry again. We're going to knock this pledge. Like, we're just going to finish it once and for all so I don't have to come back to this. So one more journal remains, and I will see you on there or maybe on stream. And until next time, keep it classy.